Look at that shot. Look at the finger raised in the air as Fabio's about to break down into one finger breaking down to San Donato. I think I'd want about 3 hands on the leader, yeah, to be perfectly honest.
An anchor.
Superb, brilliant scenes here as Fabio Di Gianantonio's golden run continues.
3 out of 3 for Digia at Mugello. Next stop for him is Q2. Pedro Costa, of course, is going to Q1 shortly. He was second ahead of Pekka Bagnaia, Fomi Aldeguer, and another Q1 participants. Ayagura Betseki under the radar 6th ahead of Morbidelli Martin, who broke the top speed record of all time in that session. Marc Marquez and Moreira completing the top 10 from Fernandez, Binder, Marini, Mir and Maverick Vinales. Alex Rins first of the Yamahas in 16th. He's in Q2 of course later on. Bastianini 17th ahead of Quattararo, Miller, Toprak, Pirro, who crashed at Biondetti, and Cal Crutchlow in 22nd on the LCR Honda.
So Fabio Di Gianantonio was complaining of nausea and sickness yesterday. He will not be getting sick of the sights of his name at the top of the MotoGP leaderboard, because as he did so on Friday with the double, it's Fabio Di Gianantonio quickest this morning as we go into qualifying here in Mugello. It is a sight to behold, isn't it? It is a glorious sight. It's a magnificent sight. In the distance, the rolling hillsides and the valleys of Tuscany, one of the most beautiful, gorgeous regions of Italy. And it has been the home of the Italian Grand Prix since 1994. The home of Grand Prix motorcycle racing in this part of the world for 50 years. First Grand Prix all the way back here in 1976, won by the late great Brit Barry Sheene. We're about 30 kilometres northeast of the picturesque city of Florence, and we are set now then to go in almost perfect conditions on what has already been a record-breaking sprint Saturday here in Mugello. Jorge Martin this morning on the factory Aprilia, the 2024 MotoGP World Champion. Well, he's a world champion in the top class, and now he has the top speed ever in the top class. Just under 369 kilometres an hour was what the Martinator blasted through the speed gun in this morning's FP2 session. An FP2 session, though, which was led once again by Fabio Di Gianantonio. The in-form Italian has been unrivaled so far here this weekend in Mugello. Fastest yesterday morning in our opening practice session, quickest on Friday afternoon. And despite a little bit of a technical hiccup towards the tail end of FP2 this morning, Fabio Di Gianantonio was quickest once again. Q1 though next on the agenda on this record-breaking Saturday morning here in Mugello, and it will feature Ayagura, Ralph Fernandez, both Trackhouse Aprilias in this opening session. From pole position to Q1 in a fortnight, that's Pedro Acosta's story, but he has just finished second in FP2. Also in this session, Vinales, Mir, Miller, Quattararo after crash at turn 4 yesterday. Binder, who's been beset by more KTM tech issues this weekend. Marini, Razgatlioglu, Pirro in for the injured Alex Marquez, and Cal Crutchlow in for the injured Johan Zarco. Those already through to Q2, Di Gianantonio, Bagnaia, Bastianini, Morbidelli, Aldeguer, Marc Marquez, the world champion, current world champion leader Marco Bezzecchi, Martin, now officially the fastest recorded rider ever in Grand Prix history in terms of top speeds. Alex Rins excelling on the factory Yamaha yesterday, and Diogo Moreira, the Brazilian, the Moto2 world champion in Q2 for the very first time in his MotoGP career. Great job yesterday by the Pro Honda LCR rider. Well, second fastest in FP2 this morning, Lewis. Pole position last week, a couple of weeks ago in Catalonia. You have to be parting with a lot of your hard-earned money on Acosta getting through this opening session. But to pick maybe a second rider to come through, not a given that Acosta's going to make it, but Acosta's surely the favourite. The Trackhouse Aprilia is looking strong, maybe one of the factory Hondas. Tough to call, though, as always, in Q1.
Yeah, it feels like 3 into 2 for me here in this, between Pedro Acosta and the Trackhouse Aprilias of Aigura and Ralph Fernandez, who were the 2 riders immediately outside the top 10 yesterday in practice. And we certainly know that the Aprilia's not lacking top speed, as proven in free practice 2. It has even more than the KTM, clearly, at the moment in MotoGP. Yeah, the factory Hondas of Juan Mir and Luca Marini, I guess, have to be factored in, but they have looked a little bit off the pace compared to what we've seen from them in recent rounds. Do the Hondas, so perhaps they might not necessarily be able to expect the best from them in this session.
Oh, we did see, despite the fact that he was quickest in FP2 this morning, a little bit of a late tech drama for Fabio Di Gianantonio. A little bit of concerns about whether he'd have 2 bikes available for an attack on his 3rd pole of the season. As always, on the money down in pit lane, bringing us all the up-to-date information is Jack. What's going on, Jack?
Yeah, just before this Q1 session really gets underway, one of the favourites for pole position have just had it confirmed by the team, will only have 1 motorcycle at his disposal. So Fabio Di Gianantonio, as you guys said, has been in red-hot form. He's going to have to do it the tough way, the extra pressure of just 1 bike for this Q2 session coming up shortly.
Thanks very much, Jack, and that is pressure. That is just a distraction that he didn't really need. These riders, though, they're famed. There's a reason why they're in MotoGP, because they're brilliant at blocking out tough situations and adverse moments. There's Juan Mir. There's some kind of issue getting one of his Hondas fired in front of his. We welcome back Cal Crutchlow. And what a special weekend for Lucio Cecchinello, celebrating their 30th anniversary in the World Championship. Of course, it was 10 years ago now, famously in Brno, when Cal Crutchlow won his first MotoGP race, LTO Honda's first in the Premier Class, ending that over 30-year drought for British fans to see one of their own win in the top class. And as always, just while we have the opportunity, we extend our best wishes and speedy recoveries once again to Alex Marquez and to Johann Zarco. We're hoping that Alex will be back in action for the Czech Grand Prix in Brno. Unfortunately, a serious left knee injury for Johann Zarco is going to see the Frenchman sidelined for quite considerable time. We're not exactly sure moving forward into the season whether it will be Crutchlow continuing to deputise, or when Alex Spargo maybe is back fully fit, or even Jake Dixon maybe, Honda's World Superbike rider, who's had his own well-documented injury problems so far this campaign. Jake, as part of his World Superbike contract, was actually contracted by HRC to be their designated replacement rider should they require. Of course, he was unavailable this weekend because he's currently got other things to occupy his mind, racing the Fireblade over in Aragon.
With Pedro Acosta then starting his first lap of qualifying 2, and looking at what we saw yesterday, they're going to have to be at the very least in the low 145s, you suspect, if not into the 44s in this Q1 session to be able to get through. Acosta, of course, without the benefit of any slipstream, don't think he'll be looking for that. Of course, only 11 other riders alongside him in this session out on the racetrack to try and find, 3 of which, of course, in this session are KTMs. We ride on board now with Acosta as he makes his way towards Casanova. In fact, this is the first sequence of lefts and rights. This is Materazzi and Borgo San Lorenzo, turns 4 and 5. Then he'll begin the descent down towards Casanova and Cervelli.
And this is where you do get a sense of the spectacular undulation and the roller coaster effect coming in now here in Mugello. You drop down through Casanova and Cervelli, right in the deepest part of the circuit here, really, Arrabbiata 1. Then you start to climb sharply up the hill through Arrabbiata 2, over a blind crest, and you'll be dropping down once again into the braking zone for Scarperia. This all in second gear, just over 100 kilometres an hour. Now through the left-hander, still in second through Pelagio. You'll click up 1 gear up to third on the run to Corantayo. Pretty good overtaking opportunity this into turn 12. You can see on the outside there, that's where the long lap penalty loop is there. Hopefully none of these riders will have to serve that at any point through the weekend. And this spectacular high-speed change direction, a real upper body workout this one. G-forces are plenty. Oh, a rodeo ride on the Red Bull KTM for Pedro Acosta going through Biondetti 1 and 2.
Yeah, very little to choose between Acosta and Binder so far on this lap on the factory KTMs. Maverick Vinales is just up the road ahead of them on his Tech 3 bike, and Vinales matched Acosta yesterday in practice. As I say, it's got to be something at the very least in a low 45 here for Acosta, and that's exactly what he's done. At 145, 199, he is a 10th clear of his teammate.
Barra's going to be keeping a close eye on the top speed charts as well. KTM will want that top speed record back going to Austria, weren't they? Here is Ralph Fernandez. This is a brilliant lap by Fernandez. He's going to be straight away, immediately, surely into the 44s. Likewise, his Trackhouse teammate Ayagura will track the 25 over the line. In top gear we go. 44.834 from Ralph Fernandez. Now that is the second quickest time of the weekend so far. Now that is some opening statement by the Spaniard.
And matched nearly to within a 10th by his teammate Agura. So it's Trackhouse 1-2 then. KTM Factory 3 and 5, because Marini split them on the Factory Honda. 45.2 for Marini. That is comfortably the fastest lap he's done so far this weekend, but he's still some 3/10 away from a place in Q2.
4/10 quicker than he managed yesterday, Ralph Fernandez. The best time of the weekend so far, just for your reference, a 44.808, which was fired in by Gian Antonio yesterday. Agura is absolutely creaming this Mugello circuit at the moment. Second as it stands. Look at this. He's 3/10 up as he's deep into the second split. Now down through Savelli. Lovely shot there as he drops on the inside curve through Arrabbiata 1. Lost a little bit of time, but this is still on the money. Acosta flying as well too, with Acosta through split 3. And it's going to be tight. This is going to be very, very tight. Any one of three, isn't it? Raul Fernandez, Ayagura and Pedro Acosta, it looks like.
Yeah, and he's going to get some slipstream here from a fellow KTM. Acosta now zooming up the back of Maverick Vinales' Tech 3 bike. What kind of advantage did that give him? A big one. The fastest lap of the weekend is set by Pedro Acosta.
So 44.765. He is looking like he's going to be in the hunt for back-to-back pole positions, isn't he, Pedro Acosta? It's been a brilliant recovery. Whatever they found and what they analysed the data last night in KTM, it's worked a treat. He said he was going to look at Enea Bastianini's data and find out where the beast was strong around Mugello. Well, that game of copycat seems to have worked out. What about Agura? Now, he needs this lap because he's been pushed down to P3. Over the line, the Japanese rider goes, and he stays in P3. Not good enough. So at the moment, it's Acosta and Ralph Fernandez, split by just under 700ths of a second. Agura missing out at the moment by nothing, really. I mean, yesterday he missed a direct place in Q2 at 11th by 700ths, and this morning he's missing out a place in Q2 by 300ths. Fine margins in MotoGP.
And fine margins in that fourth sector, and we'll have to see later on in the next 8.5 minutes how important that little toe that Acosta got from Vinales down the main straight, how big a difference that is going to make, because he's 69 thousandths ahead of Fernandez and a 10th ahead of Ayagura. It's 2 from those 3, it would appear, at the moment, as we follow Juan Mir, who's currently in 9th place, trying to force that Honda to go in places it doesn't really want to go.
Sliding the rear there as he came out of Corantayo. I mean, aside from Diogo Moreira's brilliance this weekend, it's been a bit of a bruising weekend for Honda. Both Luca Marini and Juan Mir reporting yesterday that they expected a lot better. Some of the deficiencies of the Honda coming back to the fore here. Juan Mir has picked up pace, a 145.274. It's nowhere near good enough to threaten Acosta and Fernandez, his fellow Spaniards. I mean, it's a decent lap time that by Mir, 45.274, but half a second behind Acosta.
Leading Yamaha at the moment is Jack Miller. He's in 7th on a 45.5, so if he's going to make Q2 and join Alex Rins on the Yamaha M1 in that session, he's got to find 3/4 of a second, which feels like a tall order, whatever kind of toe the Yamahas get. Quartararo is 9th, Toprak is 11th in this session. The 3 Yamahas taking part. This was the wild ride for Acosta through Biondetti too.
Yeah, is he pushing? Is he committed to KTM? You bet he is. Look at this. He is spectacular on the curb on the inside there. That's what unsettled the bike was, and that's why it made it all twitchy and nervous on the exit. He was just trying to get a little bit greedy there and run on that inside curve and pinch a bit of time. Yeah, that was on board.
Lift.
You ride it, cowboy. You ride it. Fair play to Cal Crutchlow. At the ripe old age of 40, he's shaved a second off of his best time yesterday. Cal 148.088 yesterday. And he's gone a second quicker. Fair play to him, 47.092 as Fabio Quartararo stares off into the distance, and at the moment staring down the barrel of a 19th place grid spot for the 11-lap sprint and 23-lap Grand Prix here tomorrow. I think Yamaha were pretty pessimistic coming into this Grand Prix, but I think Fabio admitted yesterday, was it tougher than you expected? And he just said, yeah, a lot tougher than I was expecting. We knew we were giving up top speed, we knew we were giving up horsepower, we knew we were giving up engine performance, but yeah, the hole's a lot deeper than what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, not his only problem. He must feel like he's permanently riding into a massive headwind at the moment, Fabio Quartararo, but he's also struggling with the front end of that Yamaha, getting it to really bite into the corners. And he did, as you say it was worse than expected. Always on the limit, he felt, and on the limit, and still 1.1 seconds off the pace in this Q1 session. So even by his incredible standards over a qualifying lap, surely this feels beyond Fabio Quartararo.
So at the moment, in the pound seat, Zara Costa and Fernandez. They are your two that will keep themselves in the battle for pole here in Mugello. What can Ayagura do about that in particular? You think if anybody's going to threaten Acosta and Fernandez, it will be the former Moto2 world champion, because the pack behind Agura are some distance back. Joan Mir next best, but he's over 4 tenths behind Agura-san. 5 minutes and a little bit more of the session remaining. Cal Crutchlow gets released by LCR Honda. Sort of highlighting once again the real struggles that Toprak Razgatlioglu's having to get accustomed to life as a MotoGP rider at the moment. Unfortunately, Toprak's being outpaced by Michele Pirro. Now, I know that Michele Pirro has done an awful lot of laps. Well, he's done gazillions of laps around Mugello. But yeah, another tough experience. I mean, Razgatlioglu would not have expected to have seen his name behind one of the replacement riders here this weekend. It could change, but yeah, another chastening experience at the moment for the Turk. Yeah,
I wonder whether he's going to jump in behind someone and try and get a bit of a reference up ahead. That's often where he's been able to make a step forward, when he's been able to understand perhaps the different lines and different braking markers and references that he needs around a circuit that, of course, he hasn't been to for quite some time. This very early Red Bull Rookies days would have been the last time that Toprak would have seen this Mugello circuit, but he's currently 1.1 seconds of drift of his teammate Jack Miller over a single lap, and I think that's him at the back of this train now on the Pramac Yamaha. You can see both Pramac bikes in the picture trying to drop to the back of this queue so they can get towed up the main straight.
And in this session, Toprak's Yamaha is 12 kilometres down on Ayagura's Aprilia. And in comparison to the top speed record we saw blown away by Jorge Martin in FP2 this morning, well, it's over 20 kilometres an hour. I mean, it's mission impossible. You have not got a hope in hell of being competitive when so much of this Mugello circuit is all about that start-finish straight and the grunt you need to fire down it. Acosta then, at the moment, looking good. Looking a lot better, certainly what he did yesterday with that 144.765. Here was Luca Marini, who had his toils and troubles here on home soil yesterday, down in 19th place. Replacement riders here this weekend. It could change, but yeah, another chastening experience at the moment for the Turk.
Yeah, I wonder whether he's going to jump in behind someone and try and get a bit of a reference up ahead. That's often where he's been able to make a step forward, when he's been able to understand perhaps the different lines and different braking markers and references that he needs around a circuit that, of course, he hasn't been to for quite some time. This very early Red Bull Rookies days would have been the last time that Toprak would have seen this Mugello circuit, but he's currently 1.1 seconds of drift of his teammate Jack Miller over a single lap, and I think that's him at the back of this train now on the Pramac Yamaha. You can see both Pramac bikes in the picture trying to drop to the back of this queue so they can get towed up the main straight.
And in this session, Toprak's Yamaha is 12 kilometres down on Ayagura's Aprilia. And in comparison to the top speed record we saw blown away by Jorge Martin in FP2 this morning, well, it's over 20 kilometres an hour. I mean, it's mission impossible. You have not got a hope in hell of being competitive when so much of this Mugello circuit is all about that start-finish straight and the grunt you need to fire down it. Acosta then, at the moment, looking good. Looking a lot better, certainly what he did yesterday with that 144.765. He was Luca Marini, who had his toils and troubles here on home soil yesterday, down in 19th place. Finish straight and the grunt you need to fire down it. Acosta then, at the moment, looking good. Looking a lot better, certainly what he did yesterday with that 144.765. He was Luca Marini, who had his toils and troubles here on home soil yesterday, down in 19th place.
Better than that, man.
Marc Marquez won't care that it's Diogo Moreira behind him. Those two are very, very close off circuit. They're training partners back at home in Spain. What a versatile operator on anything two wheels Diogo Moreira is. Motocross, trials, supermoto, dirt bikes, you name it. The kid is super talented and super fast. Here is Jorge Martin then in a VR46 Ducati sandwich going through Arrabbiata 1 and 2. Fabio Di Gianantonio, as you can see on the graphic there, just going through turn 9. Second of those scary fast right-handers. Of course, it was Arrabbiata 1 back in 2023, where unfortunately Alex Rins' injury woes all started. That horrendous crash in the sprint and suffered serious leg fractures, which he's still suffering from.
Keep an eye on Acosta too. I think he's the KTM up behind Moreira. Just coming to the picture, there he is on the 37, so he might be about to slipstream past Moreira and ruin his strategy as the first flying laps of Q2 begin.
Slipstream's only going to get some more top speed records in the slipstream. So it is Pecco Bagnaia then with the he wants to get at the front, he wants to get this job done, doesn't he? Marc Marquez just behind him. 44.538, the fastest time we've had of the weekend so far. That was logged by Raul Fernandez to get himself out of Q1. The Wolf then back on the prowl. Fabio Di Gianantonio. That's a new addition to Digia's backside. The Wolf's replaced Digia. It's normally there, isn't it? On the bottom. He's been anything but at the bottom of the timesheets this weekend. He's been at the complete opposite end, Fabio Di Gianantonio. Can he continue this brilliant Mugello weekend for him? Undefeated in practice. Can he go undefeated in qualifying as well? Yeah,
that the Wolf message is what Di Gianantonio hopes that the rest of the MotoGP field are staring at into today's sprint and tomorrow's Grand Prix. Marc Marquez is very nicely hanging on to the back here of Pecco Bagnaia. We'll see when we get to the end of the lap just how quick they're all going, but at the moment Marc Marquez looks like he's the shade faster at this stage of the lap.
Through Pelagio we go then to factory Ducatis at the front of the pack in Mugello. That sounds like a familiar tale in recent years, doesn't it? Bagnaia then in front of the Ducati grandstand there on the left hand side of your picture, glowing bright red, all of those fans as they go through Corantaio, through Biondetti 1 and 2. Spectacular high-speed change of direction, that on throttle as you heard there on board with Bagnaia. So we're going to now then get our first reference lap times of 44.169 is Marc Marquez's all-time lap record, set in qualifying here in Mugello last year. They power the fastest motorcycles in the world out the final corner, down the fastest part of a racetrack in the world is a 44.634 from Moreira, a 44.634. Raul Fernandez has gone now quickest with a 144.432. So out of Q1 into P1 here in Q2, but Moreira, very, very early days. What a tactic it was, what a ploy it was behind the factory Ducatis. Moreira on the front row.
Watch this trio though. It's Di Gianantonio leading Jorge Martin, and Martin might be about to turn his weekend around. Martin takes provisional pole on a 144.2. Maybe he saw that stat on screen that he hasn't had a pretty front row yet.
All-time lap record incoming, you feel. We're getting ever closer to Marc Marquez's benchmark last year. A tap on the tank then for Martin. He loved that. What a Saturday morning in the Mugello sunshine Martin is having. Fastest recorded top speed ever through the speed gun this morning, FP2, and now he's on course for his first Aprilia pole position.
It's an all Aprilia front row at the moment. Martin, Fernandez and Bezzecchi, who also did a 44.4 on his lap. Di Gianantonio is then fourth now. Moreira, that would still be an extraordinary fifth if he hangs on to that. So the factory Ducatis didn't have special laps, neither of them, because Marc Marquez is seventh and Bagnaia's initial effort only good enough for 10th.
What a year Aprilia are having. First and second in the world champs with Bezzecchi and Martin. Now they've got the fastest motorcycling Grand Prix history. They had their first ever lockout of the podium at the French Grand Prix in Le Mans recently. Martin, Bezzecchi and Negura are now potentially in front of their home crowd, locking out the front row of the grid. Fabio Di Gianantonio though is trying to gate crash and spoil that particular party, and we know he's got the potential to do it. We know he's got the pace to do it as well. We track Digia through Corantaio. Great drone shot that as we follow the 49 then now through Biondetti 1 and 2 through this third split. He's going to click right now. How's he getting on? They lost a lot of time in that third sector. Fourth at the moment though for Fabio Di Gianantonio, the biggest threat to the Aprilian so far.
He's rolled out of this lap. Yes, he has. He's going to come into the pits. I guess doesn't want to take too many risks, but he doesn't need to because he knows that he's only got that bike available to him, Di Gianantonio. So how much did he ride within himself, I wonder, on that first lap, just to get a reference, get a banker on the board? 44.5 is not a bad lap if it is a banker lap, which currently puts him at the front of row 2 with Moreira and his teammate, of course, Morbidelli. So very much a Brazilian flavour to the second row at the moment.
Moreira's best qualifying so far this season has been a pair of 14th places in front of his home crowd in Goiânia and then over in Austin in Texas. This is territory that he has not been in at all so far in his fledgling MotoGP career. Martin then from Fernandez, from Bezzecchi, just over a tenth and a half covering those top Aprilia trio. Then it's Digia, Moreira and Morbidelli. What about Pecco Bagnaia? Well, he was 10th after the opening salvo. Bastianini, we certainly would have been hoping for much more from him. Still plenty of time to rectify the situation, but he's gone from 3rd yesterday down to 11th as the factory Dukes then get ready for their second stint.
That's Bagnaia, I think, just coming into pit lane. Marc Marquez is now walking away from his Ducati. He's going to wait for his moment. Still 8 minutes of this session remaining, so there's no need to rush it at the moment. This is Marc Marquez, looking up pit lane. Is he waiting for the opportune rider to follow? He then tells the team, no, I'm happy to wait for now to pick my right moment. Of course, he picked the rear tyre of his teammate Pecco Bagnaia at the start of the session. Will he go it alone at the end of the session, or will he once again choose someone else's rear tyre?
Moreira, Fernandez, who's on the front row, Bagnaia and Bezzecchi, they have headed out on circuit. Here is Pecco right on cue. Fabio Di Gianantonio twice on pole position already so far this season. He would love to repeat his qualifying brilliance here of 4 years ago in 2022. So this time around, Marc Marquez will throw his leg over the factory Ducati and get ready to try and improve on his 7th place on the grid as it stands right now. Marc would be heading the 3rd row.
So Jorge Martin, who said yesterday it was his worst Friday of the 2026 season, and we were of course talking about him in context of what happened in Barcelona and these 6 crashes, if you include what happened on the Monday test, trying to rebuild his confidence. It's been a pretty good rebuild overnight, hasn't it, so far for the 2024 champion? Yeah,
I'd say confidence rebuilds, and so he hasn't had a pole position since Phillip Island back in 2024 as Jorge Martin. Front rows few and far between us. Diogo Moreira, well, he's always said that the tactic has been plain and simple so far this weekend. Find me a fast Italian and I will find you a fast lap on a Honda around Mugello. Paying off handsomely so far as we pick up Pecco Bagnaia there. This is him now building up some temperature in those tyres. This was the end of his outlap, so now it's head under the screen, tucked in. Down we go into this long run to San Donato. G-force is going through your upper body there as you're decelerating at, well, almost 300 kilometres an hour. I mean, it just blows your mind when you sort of process the numbers, the top speeds and then the deceleration down into San Donato. How's Pecco got on then in this first sector? Here he is then now, coming into it. Yeah, it's been brilliant. Oh, it's been a flyer. What a first sector. What a first sector by Bagnaia, up by over a 10th and a half.
And he says that this Ducati turns better than the 25 spec bike that he had here last year. Does it turn, though, as well as the Aprilias? It's going to have to if Bagnaia is going to challenge for pole position here, because Bezzecchi and Raul Fernandez have matched him through Sector 1.
We might be on course for yet more history on what has already been a sensational sprint Saturday here in Mugello. We could be getting the first ever 1:43 lap of this magnificent circuit. Surely we're going to get a 1:43. Look at this. Bagnaia, Bezzecchi, Moreira, Raul Fernandez, all putting together potential pole laps here.
Raul Fernandez has never had a MotoGP pole position, and of course he started the day in qualifying 1. Is this a big opportunity for Fernandez to spring the ultimate surprise here in Mugello?
Come on, we've had a 368 km/h motorcycle blast through the speed traps. Let's get a 43 here this morning as well in Mugello. Pecco Bagnaia may have the honour of doing that for the very first time. He's got Fermin Aldeguer just behind him. Here we go then to the final corner. Here is Marco Bezzecchi. Look at Bezzecchi's pace through the first 3 splits. Here's the world championship leader now. Through the final corner he goes. Surely this will be a 43. Bagnaia goes up to 4 for the 1:44.4, but here comes Marco Bezzecchi, the world champion leader.
Wow.
We've got one. We have got it for the very first time. What a Saturday has been for Aprilia. What a Saturday for the factory Aprilia squad. Marco Bezzecchi delivers a showstopper, the first ever 1:43 lap of Mugello. It's a new all-time lap record. Add that on to Jorge Martin's top speed record set in FP2 this morning. Saturdays just do not get any better for Aprilia.
Yeah, with authority, the World Championship leader, that is going to take some beating, because he's half a second quicker than any non-Aprilia in this session. Raul Fernandez, the top 3 has now been turned on its head. It's now Martin at the back of this Aprilia trio on the front row. Fernandez still between the factory riders, but Bagnaia, who went 4th, as you mentioned, with that lap, he can only manage a 44.4, so the first Ducati is half a second behind the fastest Aprilia.
That is an absolute belter from Bez, isn't it? What a lap. What a lap. Look at this from Fermin Aldegar. He's doing all the hard work on his lonesome here. He did that yesterday when he got himself into P5. Not been entertaining any kind of slipstream. I'll just go out, I'll run my lines, I'll run my pace, and I'll get the job done. That's been the message from Aldegar. And this is a real strong lap. We'll follow him now through Biondetti 1 and 2 on the Grisini Ducati. He's figured it out, hasn't he? He knows what he needs from that GP25 now, Aldegar. Wasn't helped by the injury recovery. He's lost time in the third sector, which is understandable when you need to really muscle the bike around. Still lacking strength in that left leg is Aldegar, but a very respectable lap time. He's going to be moving up a few spots here. 9th as it stands right now for the Spaniard. Let's track him over the line now in top gear. 9th to 4th. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant by Aldegar. 44.313. Superb.
Clearly the secret to that extraordinary Bezzecchi 43.9 was that third sector, which has been able to see him increase that advantage. He's caught second. Marc Marquez are on board with has to set the fastest first sector. You would put nothing past the 93, would you, at this stage? Surely this would be too big a bridge for him to climb over, because remember, the Aprilia's super strong through these infield second and third sectors. He's
behind Acosta, so did that brilliant first sector come as a result of the slipstream behind Acosta, towing Mark down the start-finish straight. Surely had to have played a big impact. Acosta's on the money as well here. The pair of them, 9th and 10th in this session as we move into the final throes of what's been a record-breaking Q2 here in the Italian Grand Prix. A morning for Aprilia, which is going to live long in the memory. Into Correntine we go then. Acosta versus Marquez. These two are likely to be Factory Ducati teammates when we come to Mugello in 2027. Marquez is flying. He couldn't, could he? Surely he couldn't. Off his hospital bed, from the surgeon's knife to pole position here in Mugello.
Just couldn't match the Aprilia though, couldn't match Bezzecchi through that third sector. Could still get him back onto the second row here for Marc Marquez, and once again that KTM will be punching a hole for him. Gian Antonio's not launching a pole challenge either. The 93's coming past us now on the main straight and potentially onto the second row of the grid here for Marc Marquez. He does indeed take 4th.
Acosta did not improve. Acosta then is down in 10th place. Brilliant lap there by Marc Marquez on his last flight now. Fabio De Gianantonio's got some work to do. 60 seconds of this record-breaking session remaining. The Gianantonio has been pushed back down to 7th place, which would be the first time he's been off the first 2 rows of the grid so far this season. Are there late fireworks being produced potentially by Jorge Martin on the front row for the first time so far this season? That'll be job done.
Mark sat up. Marc Marquez, I think I just saw him on the right-hand side as Martin passed us from the onboard, so he won't be improving. He has indeed backed off. He will not be on the front row of the grid, but 4th would still be a great return for the reigning world champion. It's looking set, isn't it, for this Aprilia lockout at the front row of the grid, but we don't know yet what order they'll be in.
Tight. Marc Marquez, a hundredth of a second off the front row of the grid. A Herculean effort by the 93 to get himself on that front row. Well, we've said that if there was going to be one candidate to break up the Aprilia domination of that front row, it could be Fabio De Gianantonio. Pole sitter here 4 years ago in 2022. It was a little bit out of shape, a little bit nervous on the brakes going down into Scarperia. Let's check him. He's about, 3/4 of the way through the third sector. Into Correntine we go. Long
third sector here with so many technical corners. Bezzecchi absolutely aced it on his current provisional pole lap. Martin is going to have to go even better to challenge him for pole position. What about Di Gianantonio through that third sector? He's lost nearly half a second.
And it could be Digia. I was going to say maybe potentially Digia that would be pushing Martin off the front row of the grid, but that's not going to be the case. At least Digia's going to maybe squeeze himself onto the second row, which is where he's started several Grand Prix already so far this year. Has he done so over the... No, he hasn't. He has not. So Fabio De Gianantonio then with a season worst 7th place on the grid. What a moment. Aprilia, soak it in, enjoy it. What a Saturday in Mugello for the Nawali factory. Their first ever front row lockout. They're in dreamland. They can't quite believe it. Marco Bezzecchi on pole with a 1:43.921, the fastest ever lap of Mugello. The one and only 1:43 lap we've ever had here in Mugello. The all Aprilia front row completed by Ralph Fernandez. What a job he's done this morning, having had to come through Q1. Jorge Martin on that front row, that record-breaking front row. Moments after he'd set the fastest ever top speed. Aprilia have never ever had a Saturday quite like this one. And what a place to do it as well, in their home Grand Prix here in Mugello. Just weeks after they locked out their first MotoGP podium in the French Grand Prix at Le Mans. Perfect timing in the Italian Grand Prix. The Italian manufacturer locks out the front row. Simply a stunning Saturday in Mugello for Aprilia.
We thought they were playing catch-up, didn't we, after yesterday when they were 7th and 8th, Rezeki and Martin. Of course, as you mentioned, Fernandez wasn't even in the top 10 yesterday. Whatever they found overnight on those factory Aprilias, Ducati will be looking for some of the same before the sprint later on, because they have turned the tables on their Italian rivals big time this morning.
And the problem the opposition has got now, the Aprilia is the best starting motorcycle in MotoGP right now, so it's going to be a real tough task to try and first get ahead of the Aprilias and let alone beat them. Jorge Martin's first front row since Malaysia, Sepang, all the way back in 2024. It will have been worth the wait as far as he goes. What a session, what a session. What a performance as well by Marco Bezzecchi. Records broken galore by the Nuali factory this morning. They have the fastest motorcycle in Grand Prix history down the start-finish straight here.
That's where he won it.
Yeah, look at that. He was absolutely untouchable in that third sector. Marco Bezzecchi, well, he's already the World Championship leader. Winning has been a very familiar feeling over the recent weeks and months. He said on Thursday when I spoke to him in the pre-event press conference, to win here, to win in Mugello, it would be the stuff of dreams. Dreams coming true. What an unforgettable Saturday Aprilia have had so far. It could get even better. Let's get the thoughts of their boss, Paolo Venora, with Jack.
Yeah, I was just saying to Paolo, that third split from Marco is where he destroyed everybody, but Aprilia is 1, 2, 3 on the grid. Yesterday, your riders were telling me Ducati had a step on one lap, so what have you done overnight?
I think that the rider put something more today. No, I'm joking, but we fix a little bit the bike compared to the yesterday one. So following the rider comments, but to be honest, here the most part of the job are from them. Absolutely.
Incredible job. Well done, Paolo.
Thanks.
A truly incredible job. Best non-Aprilia, who else could it be? Of course, it is factory Ducati star Marc Marquez, who was, look at that, you can see where Marc's suffering. Over half a second he has to find in that third sector. That's no disgrace, because we know that's how good Marco Bezzecchi is in that third split. Jorge Martin then, it is his 35th MotoGP front row start, first since the tail end of 2024 when he went on to ultimately win the World Championship. Aprilia first and second in the standings, 15 points split Bez and Martin. Those two are going to go toe-to-toe, aren't they, over the 34 racing laps we have to come. Got a mouth-watering prospect, that is. 3 p.m. local time, just under 3.5 hours away from lights out for the Tissot sprint. We reckon you might want to book a place on the sofa for it right now. Fair play to Ralph Fernandez as well. It is never easy to get yourself out of Q1, let alone then back that up with a place on the front row of the grid. But that is exactly what the Spanish rider has done. Just the 5th front row start of the 25-year-old's Grand Prix career in MotoGP. It's going to be his first since the opening Grand Prix of the campaign, isn't it, in Thailand, when he backed up a third place on the grid with thirds in the sprint and the Grand Prix.
Shout out once again to Diogo Moreira, the Moto2 champion, 8th on the grid, middle of the third row. He splits the VR46 Ducatis, didn't quite come together in the end, did it in that session for KTM. Their two runners in Q2, both on row 4, Acosta and Bastianini 10th and 11th.
Marco Bezzecchi didn't do a 44 yesterday, did he?
Look, it's best of 45-0.
I mean, he's gone over a second faster. Didn't do a 44 at any stage yesterday, and he's in the 43s this morning. And then when you look at that transformation compared to the likes of Bastianini, who was third quickest yesterday, and Nea's best yesterday, a 144.9. Well, he only did a 144.8 this morning. He's plummeted down from third to 11th. I think we expected, and Anea certainly expected, a lot more.
Yeah, it's the old adage, isn't it? If you stand still in this game, you ultimately go backwards, and that's what's happened to KTM today. Fine effort that from Diogo Moreira. We do know he loves this place. Pole last year in Moto 2 on his way to the World Championship. But standing up in a weekend where the Hondas have generally struggled, Diogo Moreira has stood up.
That is an awesome job. Absolutely awesome job by Diogo Moreira. And also to this young man, Raul Fernandez, who at the moment is having to contend with all kinds of off-track gossip, all kinds of off-track rumours that he may well be losing his seat at Trackhouse next year. Massimo Rivola happier with Raul Fernandez there than what he was with him. He was in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago. I mean, after there was the controversial collisions with Raul Fernandez and Martin last time out in Barcelona, now we've got an all Aprilia front row. Maybe there's going to be another meeting before this,
guys.
Another meeting with the Aprilia quartet before this afternoon sprint. Another moment of history though for Aprilia. They will not want 2026 to end, will they? Marco Bezzecchi with that beautiful tribute to Alex Zanardi on the helmet. Just a phenomenal lap time. What a morning though for Jorge Martin. His first front row for Aprilia and the fastest rider ever in MotoGP history. Let's get his thoughts with Jack.
Jorge, yesterday we spoke and you said that was the most difficult Friday of the season so far. You're now on the front row of the grid, and to go with it as well, MotoGP's fastest ever man with a new top speed record. Not a bad Saturday morning.
Yeah, nice feeling. I knew I could beat that record because I was behind the two other bikes, and I said, okay, let's go. I will break the latest I can to make that high speed. And yeah, it was good fun. And then overall, I'm feeling much better than yesterday. The pace is really good. We just need to continue improving. The opponents are very strong. Anyway, here Aprilia is working fantastic as always, and we just have to continue working. It was a tricky qualifying, a lot of traffic, like everybody wants to get in the two of the other ones. But we did it the first row, another target achieved for me with Aprilia, so step by step.
Great job, well done.
Thank you.
Step by step, he is coming to the top step once again, isn't he? He did the brilliant double at the French Grand Prix in Le Mans. Unfortunately, that was backed up. The first time ever a rider's done a double win, then followed up with a double DNF, but he has been superb. What a response. What a bounce back from Barcelona for Martin. 4 days if you throw in the Monday test session that he had in Catalonia. He was on the floor 6 times. He was in hospital in Barcelona on Monday. Such was the severity and impact of his crash at the Monday test. Yet here he is. Fast forward a few days, and he's on the front row for the first time for Aprilia with a top speed record to boot as well. Yeah, Massimo Rivola, the Aprilia Racing CEO on the right-hand side of your pitch there, embracing Marco Bezzecchi, who has done so much since he first arrived at the Nuali factory back in 2019 to turn Aprilia from back markers to front runners in the MotoGP World Championship. They have gone quite literally from the back of the grid to the front of the grid, and it's another milestone. And a season that's already delivered so many special milestone moments for Aprilia. They can tick another box now in Nuali for the first time. Bezzecchi, Fernandez and Martin lock out an all Aprilia front row. And there's no better place to do it as well. In front of their home crowd, there'll be a lot of Aprilia guests here this weekend. I think this is Raul Fernandez. Was he waiting for Marco Bezzecchi at one point? Yeah, he was waiting. I thought he was. You could get a say, like, I'm going to follow Marco Bezzecchi. I don't care what you tell me, what the strategy is. I'm going to follow the 72.
Go.
Yeah, let's go. You have to say, he called it spot on. He was right on the money. Oh, look at Bezzecchi wringing the neck of that Aprilia through Biondetti 1 and 2. They're doing a stellar job of hanging right in there, particularly in that third sector. And that was the moment where we saw Bezzecchi and Fernandez secure first and second on the grid. So close to his own 143 himself, wasn't he, Fernandez? Brilliant performance. As we said, the last time he was on the front row, he did have a double podium, but here he is then, second on the grid here in Mugello. Let's get the thoughts of Raul Jack.
Well, Raul, you've done it again. I feel like you absolutely love topping Q1 and then using all of that experience to stick it onto the front row of the grid. You must be absolutely delighted, again, with the work you've done overnight to achieve that result as planes really take us out.
Well, yes, I'm very happy again to be in first row. It is important always to be in this kind of position on the grid because as we see and as we know, it's quite difficult to overtake, so it is easier place to start for tomorrow, but anyway, and also for today. Anyway, I think during the weekend we make a good job. Yesterday also we were unlucky with the red flag, but anyway, we know the potential. And yeah, for sure, I am happy. I'm really happy for Aprilia. They make a super good job. You see 3 bikes on the first row. Anyway, I know that Ducati have a very good pace. We will see what happens, but for sure we will try to make our best. We have to enjoy as we made this morning, and let's see how we can manage the race, because it will be very difficult with the hot temperature.
Good luck this afternoon.
We will try.
You know he is going to try. He'll be pushing at his maximum. An all Aprilia front row, followed by an all Ducati second row. It is very much Italy versus Italy right here in the Grand Prix of Italy at the moment in terms of the manufacturer competition. Great job. Cracking ride that by Raul Fernandez. He had to do it the hard way, coming through Q1 with that 1:44.538. He, fair play to me, was then able to find another 4/10 of a second in the second session as well. You might have to get a couple of beers in for Marco Bezzecchi, helping him through that third sector in particular on that hot lap. Yeah, Marquez, Aldeguer and Bagnaia is a very tasty all Ducati second row of the grid. Ducati have never lost a sprint here in Mugello. That is under some serious threat this afternoon, isn't it, at 3 p.m. local time. They've won 7 of the last 8 MotoGP races here in front of their home crowd. But what a morning for Aprilia, what a morning for Marco Bezzecchi. The first ever 1:43 lap in Mugello. Just listen to the ovation he's getting from the Italian fans. Pole here in Italy for Bez, he's with Jack.
Well, Marco, it sounds like the home fans absolutely love that one. You are now the fastest ever man around Mugello, a 1:43.9. Did you think that was possible this morning?
Well, honestly, no. I mean, it's a very, very fast lap time, but the level was amazing today from everybody. So I really pushed my all to try to make the perfect lap. And yeah, very satisfied, of course. It was an important qualifying. Now we must enjoy a little bit, but we must also come back to the box and work for the races, because the 2 main events are now. So very happy, thanks to the team, thanks to the fans, of course. They've been amazing all around the track, and yeah, hopefully we can make them enjoy this afternoon.
Brilliant lap, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was, in every sense of the word, phenomenal performance that. Bez with a beauty, an all-time lap record. We said pre-Q2 we expected magic in Mugello, and we got it. And it was delivered in style by the number 72, Marco Bezzecchi, a 1:43.921. I'm not sure he's done too many better laps in his Grand Prix career than that one he produced in front of his home crowd. Of course, this used to be Valentino Rossi's backyard, his playground, but it's one of his own. It's a rider who Marco Bezzecchi said the only reason he's here fighting in MotoGP is because of VR46 and the doctor. Can Bezzecchi continue that special Saturday, having topped Q2?
His first pole since the opening Saturday of the season in Buriram. Bezzecchi leads an Aprilia lockout. Fernandez and Martin join him on the front row. All Ducati row 2, Marc Marquez, Fermin Aldeguer and Pecco Bagnaia. Gian Antonio, I guess, will be disappointed with only 7th. Moreira surely will be thrilled with 8th. Morbidelli 9th from the KTMs of Acosta, Bastianini and the Yamaha of Rins. Ayagura, a 44.8 for him, not enough for Q2. He's 13th ahead of Binder, Mir, Marini, Miller and Quartararo. Maverick Vinales will start 19th on the second of the Tech 3 KTMs. Toprak had a tough Saturday morning, crashed after the checkered flag in Q1 to leave him 20th on the grid ahead of Michele Pirro and Cal Crutchlow. What does that all mean for the BMW M Award? Marco Bezzecchi retakes the lead. 12 points ahead now of Fabio Di Gianantonio, who was leading coming into this weekend. Marc Marquez back in the points, of course, having returned to action. He's 3rd ahead of Pedro Acosta, and Jorge Martin's first front row in Aprilia colours lifts him up into 5th place.
So he gets a nice shiny Tissot watch, and he could get a nice shiny BMW at the end of 2026, couldn't he? Marco Bezzecchi leading the way in the BMW M Award. Well, it has been A Saturday we will not forget in a hurry here in the Italian Grand Prix in Mugello. A new top speed record set by Aprilia's Jorge Martin, and a new all-time lap record, the first ever 143 lap set by Marco Bezzecchi. It has already been a mega Saturday in Mugello, maybe, and hopefully the best is still to come from Simply the Bez, Marco Bezzecchi.